Hello. Well, we're back here today, Circle Healing Network, with Dr. Reverend Saralise Azreal, and we're catching up after my journey around Italy and the continued global pilgrimage and what have you that you're doing, Saralise. So, again, guys, thanks a lot for joining us, for tuning in. I don't know about you guys out there, but it has been a whirlwind last month or 6 weeks for me. I tell you, it's been really something else. And since I've been back, I've only done one video on the channel, and that's because I really started integrating what I thought was going on with the Mandela Effect. Just a lot of downloading that has been going on. And it's funny because in sharing that video, one of the ones I like to do from the car, Saralise, my vlogs,
yeah,
got a lot of feedback. A lot of people were connecting with it. They were like, yeah, that makes good sense to me. That's great. You know, I can go with that. It seems like that's what's been going on in my life. So the confirmation is not around that this is what's happening in the world, and this is what's happening in everyone's life. But we all are manifesting different aspects of our lives, and that manifesting is kind of like cross working, and we're coming on top of each other's lives. And so there's groups of us that are experiencing things the same way, and there's groups that are experiencing things other ways. And I think that's all by design and how it's supposed to be. So I wanted to say that because today we're just going to do a lot of updating. Saralise, you're going to share with us all that's been going on with you. And I'll share some of the things that I came across and some of the stuff that happened with me when I was in Italy. And we guys will just update you. But the purpose of this show, once again, is to talk about how the frequencies are raising, what's going on with Mother Earth, with Gaia Sophia, how the elevating of her frequencies are also helping us to elevate and ascend. And it's all based upon intention, all based upon desire. If you want to ascend, you want to grow, you want to go onto the fifth dimension, then you're a part of that frequency. If you don't, it's okay too. I mean, there's all these different layers of dimensions, and maybe perhaps your course is different from ours. But for those of you who resonate with the course that I'm on and that Saralise is on, then this is the show and this is the topic for you today. So again, thank you for joining us. We're going to jump into it. In the next hour, we'll just do a lot of sharing. And I guess also sharing a lot of our thoughts, a lot of what's been coming through for us, and how we're answering the questions for ourselves personally and for those of our clients and those that are in our lives. So again, thank you so much, Saralise, for coming on. Love, I missed you and loved our time together. So, hey.
yeah, hey. Yeah, so a lot of energies have been moving in the collective, and I think the focus that we wanted to talk about, the post-election energy and how we can move forward and focus our intention and our energy in a way that serves the highest good, right?
Exactly.
And also speaking to how the Mandela Effect actually comes into play with that, and how we create our own reality, literally create our own reality, because you and I were talking about that earlier. Yeah. And also looking at the temporal nexus, because that totally ties into the Mandela Effect and what's happening now in terms of timelines and how it's all playing itself out.
Right.
So speaking to that and how we can sort of take action in our own lives to be able to have the results that we actually want to see happen, rather than what's being presented to us.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Because we can choose for ourselves. There are choice points here, I think, right now that are more important than ever before, in that we get to choose how we go about receiving energy.
Yes.
And giving energy, and how to be energetically responsible with our energy. So I think that's a really key point that I would love to talk about, because in our reality now, and the things that I've been witnessing, you know, and reading with my friends on Facebook and everything, everyone's just, I mean, I had to stay offline for 3 days. I was not willing. I was literally not willing to receive that level of energy into my field. It was not because I would be triggered by it so much, but just because energetically speaking, I was witnessing and watching what people were going through, and I have compassion for that. And at the same time, I'm literally living in a different reality. Like I don't live in that reality. So I'm watching this reality that they're in, and I'm in my reality, and I'm like, wow, this is a very different reality that we're experiencing here. And the day of the elections, I had, you know, several, you know, things happen, which I thought were quite interesting. One was an entity tried to come into my field, and I got a bad headache, and I was unprepared. I wasn't unprepared, but to the degree that I would have normally been able to shake that off, I wasn't quite prepared for that. So I ended up with a 3-day migraine because of it. So I just cleared that migraine after 3 days. And that's happened to me before, where I've had something come into my field and it's been very hard to shake it, you know?
Yes, exactly.
And it didn't take me out like it used to take me out, but it definitely made a difference. And that same night, right after that happened, I went to dinner. And of course, I ran into a person that I knew from Mount Shasta, and he wasn't exactly my favorite person, you know, and he happens to be living here in Glastonbury. And I was like, oh, great, lovely. And he barely remembered me, which was even more hilarious. I was like, okay, great. At least he doesn't really remember me. That's great.
That's wonderful.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. We'll just leave it there. And so I was like, oh, phew, you know. And then, because I don't have a lot of conflict per se, but like there's certain people that I just choose not, their realities are not my reality.
Exactly. It's all about frequency and energy connection. That's all it is.
Right.
It's choices. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but what was interesting is that he came into my field when I was in that space of having that energy around me. And then my friend and I had, you know, a few people show up in our reality that we knew were agents, you know, and they were listening to our conversation, and we were talking about some pretty intense stuff. So as I do, I talk about some pretty intense stuff. So they were listening, and I was like, are you guys having fun with that conversation? Are you enjoying what we're talking about? Like I literally called them out, you know?
Right. Exactly.
You know, at the end of the day, I'm not afraid of these people. Like, what are they going to do? You know, it's hilarious to me, really. But
it really is.
It's almost like I got found out, you know, so it was really funny. So I've been having kind of a kick with that. And then just watching everyone's reaction to, you know, the election and just how it's been going down. And personally, I choose not to vote. I'm not willing.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm not actually in that reality. And my personal vote, people say, oh, I can't believe you're not going to vote. I'm like, why would I vote? I think that personally, I don't really usually give my opinion so much, but my take is that if we were actually to veto the vote altogether and like did a voting strike and nobody voted,
right,
and starved out the system, then they would have no choice but to change the system. But right now, the way it stands is we have an opportunity now because, quite frankly, the weaker opponent won. And so it's like, if you think about it, it's actually a good thing because that means that the American population has an opportunity to speak.
Right.
And be heard, you know, because it's not under the control of that, you know, cabal,
the larger entity,
the rapacious cabal. Yeah.
Right.
Not to say that it isn't. I mean, granted, there's got to be some level of, I mean, he's connected to all kinds of stuff. But the fact that Russia announced starting friendly relations with America and with Poland, that's huge. That's like historical, monumental information that we have now to say, look at how much they didn't want to have relations with us because of this group of people that were running the country.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And to say that they weren't willing. And now we have an opportunity for all the countries to actually have some level. I mean, that's huge to me. That was a big, I was not expecting to hear that at all.
Right.
And then because I believe that the timelines and the dimensions are actually moving and changing right now. They're moving all over because of the temporal nexus, but also because of CERN and what happened with CERN. So there's a very distinct moment in time that happened where they kind of messed with the whole reality of things, and our physical bodies have, all those things have changed due to something that happened at CERN, very specifically. And that scientist is dead now, right? And so we can't really ask him and say, we can't say to him, hey, dude, like, what exactly happened? But he did give enough information for us to know that something did happen, and it changed the reality that we live in.
Right.
And now we're seeing the results of that.
Right, exactly. No, and I agree with where you're going with this. And one of the big things for me that, I just came to this conclusion in the last couple of years, probably the last 6 years, watching this whole political machine grind, to a place that I just no longer wanted to participate in. But, on a larger level for me, what I came to the reality of is that for personally, and here again, I'm speaking personally. So those of you who are listening to this show, we're both speaking from a personal standpoint and about our views. So these are not the views that we believe of the world, of the masses, or even views that anybody else should hold. I want to be clear about that. But for me, I have become so clear, and especially with the things that have been happening with the Mandela Effect and watching people out there talking about this, the Mandela, the Toto. I mean, at the end of the day, it's reality shifting. We're going through this shift. I just came to the realization that my reality, the one that I'm experiencing and moving into experiencing more, does not have a control system. It doesn't have a governmental system. Right. It's about free will. And it's the movement of human beings and entities who already understand how to operate and how to work and what's going on in the bigger picture. So I've stopped participating in a lot of the third dimension activities because I just don't even resonate with them any longer. In fact, it's not even like I'm making a choice not to do it. It really is. I've lost a desire to be a part of it. It's the same thing that happens. People talk about, eat a certain kind of way and all that. That's, you hear a lot of people talking about, to ascend, get rid of this, have the light foods, have the vegetables, have this. I say have what you're supposed to have. And when you connect back with your body and what's going on for you, you eat what you feel that you should be eating. And it may not be all fruits and vegetables.
Your body will tell you exactly what you're meant to be eating.
Exactly. And there are foods that I love to eat. I mean, I've been a vegetarian forever. I came to this planet a vegetarian. I was one of those kind of kids that ate all my vegetables but never ate the meat. I mean, I was at the table trying to eat meat till 10 o'clock at night because my parents were like, you're going to eat before you get up. And
oh my God, I know.
But the reality of it is that there's even vegetables and fruits that I have stopped eating just because I've lost the desire to eat them. So I'm saying this, that a lot of these things are not conscious choices. If we really go back into our heart space, which is where the ascension is happening, which is where the energy and the understanding and the intellect is, the intellect, not mental intellect, but heart, consciousness, the morphogenic field intellect, I'm talking about knowledge, understanding that is about doing things just out of what you feel you should do. And so my thing, even with the election, was that vote your conscience. I told people, vote your conscience. If you consciously feel that Hillary is who you should vote for her. If it's Trump, fine. If it's Jill Stein, if it's you, write your own name in there. Empower yourself. Whatever it is, we're living in now that we are really, and we were talking about this before you came to the show, Saralise, and I want to talk a little bit, I want to get your input on this a little bit more, is We are literally shaping and creating our realities. Now, I know we've heard that for 20-something years with the New Age movement, you know, you are your reality and all that. But it's really come to a place that it is dense, it's factual, you know.
Yeah.
And we have to be conscious of not tying in with a lot of this third dimensional energy, a lot of these governmental system stuff, and a lot of what, unless you want to live in a reality where Trump, Putin, the chicken, Merkel, all these people are your lords, then tie into it. But if you got a different idea about what you want your world to be like, I say, begin to tie into what you really want to see happen, and be conscious of what's going on in the world front, because I mean, I'm conscious of it. I get all fired up when I'm in my third dimensional self. That's be pissing me off.
Yeah.
But, you know, but you have to, so it's like right now, and I'm going to let you talk, but it's right. The point I want to make is it's like right now we're straddling the third and fourth dimension. So we're going to go back and forth. Sometimes you're going to be third,
fourth, and fifth.
Yeah. Well, I see the fourth is the bridge to the fifth, because that's where we're going. So you're right, third, fourth, and fifth. Yeah. But I wanted to bring that out to the viewers, because I wanted them to understand we're not so much talking about the government or elections or world. We're really talking about how these frequencies and these energies are, and how we are evolving and ascending as we're straddling these dimensions.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about, I just really feel directed and guided to speak to this one thing right now. Mm-hmm. The sessions that I've been doing with people, and what's coming up in the collective right now and what's being revealed is the satanic ritual abuse, right? Yes. Uh-huh. And so a lot of people have suffered that experience, have gone through that experience, and may have no memory of it. And then what happens is when that stuff starts surfacing, you go into what's called a spiritual madness, right? Because you start elevating to a higher level of consciousness, but then all the underbelly comes up. Wow. Right? Mm-hmm. So the underbelly is coming up right now in the collective. And then all these people are, because of this introduction of this frequency of satanic ritual abuse and the child pedophile rings and all this stuff, what's happening is it has to come out. It has to be revealed and healed, right? Yes. So what's happening is I've been working with people for a long time on that level. But what we do is we go back into the realms where we can reveal this information. And we clear it, and we take the power back there at that core essence, right? Right. Where you lost your power, and then you bring your power back online, and all hell breaks loose, of course, because they don't want to lose another one, because it's all about energy harvesting and mind control, right? Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this whole election thing has been an energy harvesting machine. Absolutely. And it's happening right now, because if they couldn't get, in fact, you know, the whole idea. So now they've got to create more energy harvesting. So they're doing all the riots and all the riots and all of that. Stuff. And that happened way too quickly. Way too quickly. Like we were talking about them bussing people in, because there's no way. That was all set up in advance. That was all organized so that if she didn't get into office, there would be a full protest in motion, and those people are paid. Okay. So it's like, and like we were saying at the beginning, before we got online, I mean, and I just want people to sort of think the way we're thinking, or at least have an insight into how we come to these conclusions by the way our minds are processing, in that the election was on a Tuesday. Right. People work on Wednesday mornings. It's the middle of the week. It's hump day. People do not have the energy barely to manage their lives day to day. Right. I mean, we work in such a slave system now. Nation, you hardly have any time for yourself, none whatsoever. And I'm supposed to believe that when people, because the decision wasn't until midnight or so. Right. So either people stayed up. And the very next day, come on. So the next day, or they woke up in the morning and found out about it, and they were able to get up, get their kids out, get to school, do all the stuff you got to do, get off to work yourself, work a full day, in some kind of way plan a protest in the thousands, and have signs made too,
professional signs made?
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
are we that stupid that
Right.
people,
Really.
regular, everyday people did
Gullible.
that?
Yeah.
No, it didn't. This is
That's
a
called
planned event.
impressionable.
Yeah.
Right.
And also to that same point, when people were really upset that the Democratic nomination was taken from Bernie back a number of months back, when people were really upset in Colorado and Illinois like that, where it was so clear that it was stolen and they were out protesting, the mainstream media was not even covering it. So most people don't even know that those protests actually already occurred with real people. So now all we have is fake people doing the staged one. People, wake up. Wake up.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna. I was thinking about.
Oh, Jesus.
I was just thinking about the. That just brought me into another whole situation, man.
We don't even want to go down that road. We spent the first hour of reconnecting going down a road that you guys would not. You might want to be a part of, but you might not want to be. Go ahead.
Yeah. So like. The Project Veritas put out a video, okay? And he literally called people out and said, okay, the American public is in a stronger position right now. The population, independent journalism, stronger narrative right now than mainstream media. And they are being put on point, right? They're being put on point, and all these people that have been manipulating the system are being called out and put on point. And he literally, you can, you can get it on the link on my Facebook page. But he's like, I'm calling you out. You're on point. You are being put on notice that we are watching you. Like we are watching you now.
Exactly.
And it was amazing to me. I mean, I got full body chills watching this video. Like, holy, but Jesus, this guy's brave. But it's only due to the work. Now, granted, Julian Assange has access to the governmental. They're leaking the information to Julian Assange.
It was a counter coup. And they were leaking
so
a lot
I mean, it's all organized, right?
Exactly.
But here, but what that's done, it's so beautiful, because what that has done is it's brought forth the bravery of the American population to say, okay, we've got this guy, Snowden, and now we've got this guy, right? And now all the independent journalists, they're firing up, like, we are changed. Luke, he's like going off. He's just like, you know, he's like doing video after video after video, because he is like on fire right now.
Right.
And I know Luke personally.
Okay.
I haven't seen him like that in a very long time. Like, you know, he goes out and he goes to the Bilderberg group, you know, Bilderbergers.
Exactly.
Stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But I haven't seen him in this state where he's like showing all this stuff and like in the geopolitical climate and how he's on fire right now. So it's beautiful let me to see that.
It is beautiful to see that. And one of the things that we need to keep in mind for those of you who are out here listening and we're still trying to pull all these pieces together, regardless of
because we're popping all over,
and we both made it clear that, you know, we didn't vote, that we made a personal choice to work on getting over into the fifth dimension. So that's where I'm putting my energy. But anyway,
that's where we are.
Yeah, that's where we are.
But we have to address and be present with the third dimension to merge those things, you know.
So to that point, and I was making that point to say that you know, one way or the other, my vote was about something else. But anyway, to the point of Trump being in office, there's three things that people should immediately hold him accountable for that will definitely change your life. Number one, getting rid of Obamacare.
Yeah,
you'll go back to regular medicine, not that expensive ass stuff. That on top of that, you can't even go to the doctor. Let me tell you something. I had some insurance out here, and you know, I'm in the Southwest. And I was same insurance I've had forever. I could go to whoever I wanted to go to. Once the Obama plan stipulations happened, the short of it is that when I went to the provider they picked for me, it was so far in a part of town that I didn't even know existed. Let's put it like that. I'm like, oh hell no, I'm done with you all. So Obama plan gone. He has committed to Americans, Trump, like him or not, the 3 things will happen. Obama plan will be gone the first 100 days. He will not be signing the TPP, which is huge. Because to your point, that was going to wipe out the internet. All this personal empowerment to media and personal media and us being able to do the shows we're doing right now and Luke and all these people be done, people. And Hillary was going off that full tilt boogie. He said he's not voting for this. And the third thing is he's going to reinstall the Glass-Steagall, which means banks cannot do what they've been doing, all this unbelievable fractional reserving, messing up our money, spending more money than ever been put into the bank, charging us all these fees. I mean, huge in banking, huge. Those are 3 things he says he's going to do in the first 100 days. That is going to make...
The value of the dollar is probably going to go up.
Right.
Just watch.
And in fact, I watch gold, and I'm big into gold and silver investments and what have you.
People are buying Japanese right now.
Oh, let me tell you, in the first, when people...
First 24 hours.
Right, within 24 hours. So, and the other thing I want to point out real quick, while we're talking about third dimensional things, guys, and we're going to get into the Mandela stuff, but this is important because it's happened right after. Yeah. And so we have to process some of what's happening in the third dimension as we release that and decide we're going to release it and move on. Is that... Well,
we're still going to be in these bodies too. We have to realize that we actually are in physical bodies, even if they're in the crystalline form, we're still in physical bodies here on Gaia, and we need to take full responsibility for that. And that's important when you're taking full responsibility for every single thing that has happened up until this point. We can't ignore or deny anything that's already happened.
Right. And
or will continue to happen. We have to take responsibility for it in our own personal way. Otherwise, we can't get to the 5th dimensional frequency, period. It's just...
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and so, I mean, whatever the point was, I don't remember now, but we'll get back to it. No, you're fine. Keep on going. Oh, yeah. This is the other thing that they have, and that's what I wanted to say. This is the other thing that hasn't been broadcast, and I'm putting this out here so people can go do your Google. Don't take it from me and Saralise. Google it yourself.
Yeah,
that in the Japanese stock market was full tilt boogie when Trump was announced the president of the United States at 11 and 12 o'clock at night. They were in the middle of their day. The lights, because I happened to be on the internet looking, the lights went click, 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 and the Japanese stock market shut down. Well, as a result of that, the 1% wealthiest people here in America, by the time they woke up in the morning, over $100 billion had personally been lost just because it closed down. So don't think that the top folks with all the money ain't pissed about this. But how come that ain't on CNN and MSNBC and all these things? No, what they're taking our mind around is these freaking riots that they could give a darn about. They're trying to once again divert our attention so they can figure out how some kind of way to do an opt-in with these banks or something to get this money back. One of the richest men in Mexico, can't think of his name, the richest man, he personally lost $56 billion overnight.
Holy shit.
Because the markets that were trading abroad stopped trading. I'm here to tell you that, like they say, the revolution ain't going to be televised. You're not going to find the real stuff that's happening. So if you could spend time worrying about people talking about Bernie didn't get in and, we should have, and that's wrong.
Doesn't even matter, dude.
And it don't even matter because these people lost so much money. And let's also wrap our minds around this. What they lost may be about 9% of their portfolio.
Right.
But they still don't want to lose that because what they're thinking is if it's already starting, 9% today, 20% tomorrow,
Yeah.
So I want to throw that out there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what's interesting that just came up in my mind when you said that was John Teeter, the guy that traveled back from the future.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I do.
So John Teeter is a guy that supposedly came back. Okay, so John Teeter is a guy that supposedly came back from the future to warn about what was coming and all of that, right? And a lot of people think there is Donald Trump. That he is actually John Teeter and that he's undercover quote unquote, and be, you know, that he's obviously an ass, but God bless him, but he's that type of person. But the reason why he did what he did and tried to get into office is actually because he's John Teeter and he's come from the future and he actually knows what's going to happen. And that's why he has to steer events a certain way. That's an interesting concept that's out there.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's a really interesting concept, because that means that Donald Trump is nowhere near the idiot that we think he is. God bless him.
But you know, now I'm gonna have to say this for the record. I happen to, aside from the fact, like I said to you, that, you know, America is based on a rat race. And if you choose to be a part of the rat race, you get to the top of the rat race, you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to see a rat face in the mirror. I mean, this is how it is. So, you know, but personally, I mean, Donald Trump has never been my favorite person, but I've read his business books and they helped me in business. I've read his real estate along with Robert Kiyosaki books, and there was a lot of helpful tips to help me with my own personal investing. So as an individual looking at Donald Trump in America, I always saw him as a successful businessman who figured out the system. And to that, my hat's off to him. And that's how I feel about him. I don't really have any feelings about whether or not he's smart or not, or whether or not he's a scumbag or not. I don't really have those kind of feelings about him, because I've really never internalized that about him. I just saw him as a successful businessman, and the end. You know, this is just me. But what I did going down the rabbit hole this past week found out was that his great-grandfather actually was given the Tesla's patents. And I actually saw videos of him talking about, and I saw his grandfather doing lectures about this. Uncle, free energy. And the man talks just like him, same little lips thing going. So you can't say, oh, that's made up. He definitely is a Trump. And so it really hit me. I'm like, wow.
It's actually Trump.
And I thought, wow, what is the likelihood that he would have this type of connection to free energy and to the past, something that the people at the top, Mr. Globalist, has tried to wipe the hell out. But what's interesting is he still owns the rights to that stuff, people. Yeah. Just something to make you go, huh?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
There's definitely some tricks up his sleeve. So
let's talk about go ahead.
Sure. What do you want to talk about?
Well, let's talk about what you've our experiences with Gaia. We've talked about the third dimension stuff. Let's talk about some of the fourth and fifth dimensional, because I want people to really see how real this stuff is. I mean, because to a lot of people, it's still pretty esoteric, and it's like, oh, I'm hoping that it's like that, but I don't know anyone. I don't have any concrete experiences. Well, you know, you're talking to two gals right now that have had actual concrete experiences. We are really honestly straddling the fourth and fifth dimensions. And guys, I'm not saying it just to be saying it. This has to resonate with your spirit, with your heart. You got to feel that what we're saying is true. But we wanted to do these broadcasts because in order for you to really be able to transition into the fourth and fifth dimension, you've got to shake the third dimension paradigms. And the whole election system, the whole education system, the media system, the religious system. Those are all the third dimensional paradigms that you personally have to begin to start shedding. And you could only do it the way you need to do it, but you got to start doing it, because that's going to free your mind up to not only to see the hypocrisy and see the lies and see the matrix, the illusions of the matrix. It's going to allow you to begin to see what's happening on the fourth and fifth dimensions, and how to be a part of that, how to access that. So I know you've been still doing a lot with the pilgrimages and earth energy. And so let's talk a little bit about how that in everyday terms, Saralise, is working into the fourth, fifth dimension stuff.
Okay. Well, one thing I think will be supportive in terms of shifting from a third dimensional reality and consciousness, if you will, a polarization consciousness, is to come into the heart intelligence, into the higher heart, if you will. Yes. And so authentically checking in with your heart's intelligence in every given moment, and being authentic with you know, do I resonate with this? How do I feel about this? And like really tuning in to your heart space. And the heart space is a stronger mechanism, and it puts off a stronger field than your mind does.
Yes.
And so it has actually an it's like 5,000 hertz or something like that. Yeah. And so it actually puts off a stronger field than your mind.
537 or 530 something, but yeah. It's a really high, it's a high frequency.
It's a really high number, but the frequency, the right frequency is different. 528 is the heart. Oh, what I'm talking about is the actual amplification of the energy booming off your body.
Okay, gotcha.
Larger than your brain. Your brain is like 3,000 or 4,000, and your heart is actually 5,000.
Gotcha.
So it's a very, very different, it's stronger frequency. So if your heart is blocked and you're operating from your mind space, then that intelligence is not really available to you or accessible to you. And so you're going to take everything through your emotional body, which is in your mental body. They're very connected. So the mental framework and the emotional body are connected. So the heart, when the heart comes online, then what ends up happening is you come back into this like cosmic perspective of things, and you start to see from a different perspective, like what's been happening.
Right.
Like, oh, whoa, because then you tap into your inner child, and you're into your womb space and hara for men. But you start to integrate all these levels in your body and in your intelligence system, because your intelligence system is your gut, your womb, your hara, your heart, and your third eye. That is actually your intelligence system that has been kept from us, because they want us through mind control to believe that all we have is our mind. And so they're using our mind space and our egoic mind structure, which is like 5% of operation of our brain. Mm-hmm. And they're tapping into that and the fear-based consciousness that operates through the ego. Just follow me here. To control the masses. But once you step into your heart space, right, you can't be controlled anymore.
No.
And so what ends up happening is you tap into the world around you, the multidimensional aspects of reality, and you tap into nature, Gaia. Mm-hmm. And then once you tap into Gaia, it's like the nature speaks to you, and you start to receive all kinds of information coming from all levels, everywhere, all over the place, spherical consciousness, right? Multidimensional awareness.
It is, yeah.
And that level is the operational level of the fifth dimension. So that's where your goal is, to get to that place where your heart is wide open and you're invulnerable in your vulnerability. So you're vulnerable because you're open, but you allow things to pass through you rather than getting stuck and contracting and resisting. You just
and to
let it flow. And I want to show
that
you,
point, and just to jump in to the point where people can say, well, how am I vulnerable but invulnerable at the same time?
Right. It's a complicated.
Yeah. But one of the big things is, if you go back to what we were saying earlier, as you begin to get rid of the paradigm, your belief systems, it's the belief systems that cause us to feel we have to protect ourselves, because they create fear. But as you get rid of belief systems, you open up the heart space to not have to protect you, because you don't have, but when you're trying to protect yourself, you're really trying to protect your beliefs, right? Not like real things outside. You're trying to protect that I believe this, and anything that doesn't line up with that belief becomes a threat. But if you get rid of that belief and shed all this stuff, you start looking around and seeing, whoa, I don't have to protect myself the same way. So I just want to jump in and say that. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I want to show you the aura photography that we did today.
Wow. Wow.
Like, really? Wow. Seriously, really? That's unreal. You can see my wings.
You can see them. Wow. Where'd you do this? You didn't show me this. It's a little goodie you held back for even me. Yay.
I know, girl. So are you showing them? Did you show everybody? Okay,
they're seeing it. They're seeing it great. Yeah.
Okay.
Really
so this
good.
was at Avalon Aura Photography. So that was the first one I did. Then I went and spoke in sacred language. And then this one happened. Do you see how much more pink? I mean, it's pink already, and gold and orange and red, and which are all the unconditional love colors and all that. And basically, he said to me, "You've already reached enlightenment. That's clear as a bell from this photograph."
But hold up, look.
I was like, "Whoa!"
Put that thing back up to the screen, because
Okay.
you could.
Which one?
No, the one that's in your left hand, the second one.
This one.
Yeah.
So this one was after I.
But let me say something. You can clearly see. Not only do you see the pillars that also occur from light language, they naturally start resonating. There is an entity right over your right shoulder.
This one.
You can clearly see it.
Yeah, it's a being.
You can clearly see. Wow.
Yeah, that's what he said, the face of that being. And it's an older woman.
Yeah, you can see it's a woman. I can sense it's a woman.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's a part of your oversoul self.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can sense it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this one, she's there.
I see her. I could see her in that one, but her face popped out in the second one.
Yeah,
like
and
really.
the second one you could really see.
Like in this one, you see more of her whole body. She's further away, but she came closer in on that second one.
Yeah.
That's some good stuff, my friend.
I know, right? I mean, you can literally see, it's actually like my face. Like if you look at it, it actually looks like my face.
That's what I'm saying. That's why to me, it's more of your oversoul. You can definitely see it's the you of the you, you know, like Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
It's the you of the you.
He said
that no one else is a you or you. Yeah.
Yeah. My higher self is fully intact and operating through me. And I
Absolutely.
said, oh yeah. I mean, that was the other thing I was going to mention. That's why I'm going to show you those pictures, because my aura used to be green.
Okay.
And so right now my aura is red and pink and orange and gold.
Right.
Because I'm working with Kuan Yin a lot and the ancient sisterhood. Yes. Right. And so I've got that energy around me of self-love, and I'm like really loving myself right now. And I'm doing a lot of self-love work and things.
Yes, you have been.
Yeah. I've been doing some really good work with that. And so, but what I wanted to say about that is part of the initiation of being in the body, fully embodied, is bringing the higher self, the I am presence, quote unquote, or the monadic source seed energy, source light energy into your physical body and allowing it to operate through you. Yep. Because that's, you know, the control. We are the command center, the control center of our multidimensional reality if we choose it. Right?
Exactly.
So that's something that we can do for ourselves when we activate the source codes of our DNA. And that's not something that everybody can do by themselves. It's actually a process to have support with, so that you don't, you know, end up in the spiritual madness and go through that, because that happens, you know.
Precisely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a really dangerous process, but it's worth it in the end, obviously, because you get to this place where you're grounded in your physical being with your whole soul and everything intact.
Right. And I think that to that point, one of the things that I've discovered for myself personally, and this may work for other people who are wanting to start to do some of what you even are talking about here, is that the more you open yourself to, you know, the whole New Age community has also been a part of the paradigm. I mean, it's been a part of the misinformation that's taken people off another way, you know, but the idea that it's just about coming up through the chakra pillar, up out of the mind and into, yes, it's about that. It's about that. But the reason why it hasn't really worked as well for people, and people have been at this for years, and sometimes, I mean, you don't see them any different than some of the third dimensional characters walking up and down the block here, you know. You say, okay, you've done all this for 20 years, and I can't tell you the difference from you and this float here that just woke up from the bottle in his lap. I mean, really, I'm just saying. So you've got to ground with Mother Earth. You have got to ground. I'm telling you, when I ground, and you don't have to, you can put your feet on the ground, obviously, to ground with the energy. That's how you learn the energy. But once you learn what Earth energy feels like, you can literally be laying in the bed and you can bring that energy right up into the bottom of your feet. So I also want you to understand that you don't have to be on the ground, but that's a great place to start. But in order to move energy up and out so that you can really activate your heart chakra, so that you can really flow more into heart intelligence, is to ground with Mother Earth. You got to ground. And without that, you just can't hear what's going on, and none of it will make sense to you. You'll be too heady. You'll be
Right.
too and all this stuff,
Yeah.
and stuff still ain't working for you. So I wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, and then that brought up the point in my mind about the masculine and the feminine imbalance in the collective and the divine feminine wound that we're all dealing with, right?
Yep.
So the goal of the human elite or the cabal or whatever you want to call it is to emasculate the men and to bring on the dark feminine.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So that there's a feminine wound within all of us that keeps us from being nurtured and loved and loving ourselves.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so we have to go kind of overkill with that and really make an effort to bring the feminine and the masculine back into balance. And the way to do that is through the heart, right?
Yes.
And when there's a masculine and feminine imbalance, what you'll see, this is an example of the masculine and feminine imbalance. If you're so in your feminine, what you'll do is you'll like cater to everybody and you'll be a martyr. You won't like meet your own needs. You'll just be meeting the needs of everybody else.
Right.
But your masculine will be driving that, which is interesting, right?
Yes, exactly.
So you're emasculated, and yet your masculine is overcompensating for the fact that this feminine thing is happening.
Right.
So you have to balance your masculine to bring the feminine back online.
Exactly.
So that the feminine isn't overcompensating and holding space for too much, but with the masculine drive, it's very complicated until you see it. And then once you see it, it's like so obvious, and you're like, oh my God.
Right.
And so then you have to put energy into yourself. Right.
Yep.
And when you do that with the masculine, you bring the masculine and the feminine back into balance, and you, through the heart space of the feminine, the strength of the feminine will bring that back online.
Yep. And to that point, I know both of our brains are just firing in unison,
right?
But to that point, what happens too is it made me think about, a paradigm. Here we go back to paradigm. Belief systems that became instituted about 30 years ago, when women were naturally given natural childbirth. They were into midwifery, and all this stuff was going on. And women were really claiming and owning being able to give childbirth naturally without all of these saddle blocks and all these different types of anesthesias and stuff. And we were at a beautiful point. And what I started noticing was women I started hearing like my friends and stuff saying, oh yeah, my due date is on, October 29th. And so I'll be going in for induced, and I'll have a cesarean because my doctor has said that it's so much easier like that, and it'll be easier and it's not as painful and all this stuff. And all of a sudden I remember thinking, why would you want to just go in and elect to have a cesarean? And
it's crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy, right? So and I had two of my children natural, and it was like the easiest thing. I mean, I had myself all set up for thinking, oh, my childbirth, it's gonna be so painful, all that. Girl, it was easy, really. I mean, it really wasn't. It was some pain involved.
It's the natural flow.
It wasn't painful like some of the other surgeries and stuff. So anyway, this is my point. There was a movement afoot to make women think cesarean's great. It's going to be easier. It's, you're in and out, blah, blah, blah. And what did it all? And so many women started doing it. Now it's a common practice. And what did it do? Women don't give birth any longer. You don't give birth when they take it. When you're cut open and you're taken out, that's not giving birth. They still use the terminology.
And separate,
but unless you've actually
from the mother from And that's a separation. The feminine, creating that wound right from the gate.
Right, and it's exactly creating the wound right from the gate, and it's a separation of masculine and feminine energy. It's
then the masculine's in control
of what's happening, and it's something that happens when you actually give birth through the birth canal. Right. It is a different type of relationship to the child. It's a different type of empowerment. What actually does is the vaginal gate is a portal, and it activates your upper chakras, your heart chakra, your throat chakra, your pineal gland, and your crown. It activates it. that portal activates these other chakras that you need to
Right.
go to that next level. But those are deactivated when you have
Right.
cesarean.
They
So
tried to get me to do a cesarean, and I refused. I was like, no, you're not giving me any drugs. No, you're not giving, you know. And
No.
I was in a situation. I had a pretty severe situation with Jared with his birth, and not severe, but like I had to fight every step of the way to do anything. And you know, I was kind of under the control of the system at that time, but I had to go through all of that to really understand, and that was 15 years ago now. I had to really understand what that looked like in my son. They took my son like while I was sleeping.
Right.
And took him and gave him a circumcision. And I literally got up. I woke up and was like, where's my baby? Where's my baby? You know, and like went and found him. And then they wouldn't even let me near him. He was like 20 feet in front of me, and they would not let me in while he was getting a circumcision.
Because they own the child with those birth certificates. We could go down this road. But it's about bursting up those paradigms.
The hospital
That's sad.
Was a Jewish hospital. Nothing against Jewish necessarily, but the hospital was Jewish, and it was legal in the hospital for them to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So in order, if you give birth in this hospital, you basically agree to have that done to your child. So that for me was like, oh, hell to the no.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is I finally got my son back, right, after this whole crazy experience. Poor guy. I felt so bad for him. I was just so upset. I was distraught. But there's a woman who's a dear friend of mine. Her name is Janice Barcelo. And she wrote a book called Birth Trauma and the Dark Side of Modern Medicine.
Wow.
And she literally exposes the systematic violence during hospital birth and the hijacking of human love.
Yes, it is. Okay.
So she wrote a book about that.
Exactly.
So it's birthofanewearth.com.
We'll put that up.
birthofanewearth.com. Her name is Janice Barcelo. And if you guys read her book, she's profound. Okay.
I'm gonna put this down there in the
any women who are listening to this, or any guys that have been circumcised, I invite you, seriously, I invite you to read this book. I invite you to understand, and also I invite you to read the emails, the WikiLeaks emails. Just I know it's going to be nauseating and really hard to read, quite frankly, and you got to be brave, but you need to understand the systemic level at which this is operating, because in order for us to have the awareness, in order to break free and tap into the heart's intelligence, we cannot deny what has already taken place, like I said earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is imperative for us to heal our own woundings within our body matrix and our energetic matrix in order for us to move into the next level of awareness and consciousness and be able to really hold the space for others, because there's going to be so many people freaking out, like so many.
And what's crazy, and to your point, I interviewed a woman with on a different one of my segments with Dr. Ilya, and was a friend of hers, and she's a midwife out of Hawaii, and she does a lot of work on this whole thing about the sacred feminine and masculine. And her husband, who's also a doctor, was circumcised. He actually went through the process of reconnecting that skin. And he has done work. He's talked about this.
He uncircumcised himself?
He uncircumcised himself. And he said the difference in his life is like night and day.
Profound.
And let me tell you, and this is, I'm sure in this book that you read, that the people can read, and I'll make sure I put that link down there. One of the biggest things the circumcision does, it doesn't have anything to do with cleanliness, doesn't have anything to do with what it fact is it makes it worse in terms of bacteria and stuff. But even it does desensitize. But let me tell you this, what else it does is when men have that fold over their penis and they make love or have sex with their mate, there are receptors in that skin that connect to heart intelligence, that connects to the heart chakra, that have neurons and send things to the brain that ultimately says, I am hers. It's an emotional connection that occurs that creates a bond between the masculine and feminine. See, we're wide open. So when the penis is inserted in the vagina, our sensors are there. That's why women fall in love. We fall in love. We're like, oh, I can't love me. You know, and then you wonder why, how'd this bloke just walk out on me? Well, because his was severed. But with men who have
they're very different.
I know men like this. I've had conversations with them. They are very loyal. That's their woman. They don't care. Through thick and thin, up and down. We're going to work this out, but I'm yours. We got this. They're a different animal. Back to your point, it's the severing of love and the connection, because the people who are trying to do all these horrible things, who needed the matrix, who needed the energy of pedophilia, the
energy harvesting,
those entities that have hybrid themselves with humanity, needed to take that part out of us so that they could do what they were doing. If that remained, they wouldn't have been able to do the stuff they were doing. So I wanted to
genital mutilation too in the females.
Because a lot of people,
it's genital mutilation. That's what it is.
Yep, exactly. And I think women and men who are listening to this segment who have experienced relationships with non-circumcised men or men who are uncircumcised, think about it.
They'll recognize it.
You're a different kind of animal. And that's what we need to move back to. So this guy out of Hawaii, I can't think of his name, but he's really big on encouraging men to go back and have that foreskin. He says it's really not painful.
Interesting.
It really isn't painful to do that. So.
Well, they clip it, right? So then it's like they have to unclip it.
No, they have to bring it back up and reattach it back over top of it. Yeah, they clip it, so they have to reattach it. But anyway, I wanted to make the point to heart intelligence, our chakra, earth energy. I know that seems like we're kind of going all over the place, but we're living in times where
operates from the heart, right? The sacred masculine,
yes,
literally operates from the heart.
But the root chakra is the chakra where love is rooted in relationships and in the human being. Once it gets rooted through the organs, through the genitalia, then it moves kundalini like up through the entire system. But if that is broken, then it's never connected to the heart chakra.
Exactly. And the sacral chakra comes into line with that too, because your creative life force intelligence is in the sacral, right?
Right.
So the root is the perineum, which is where the entities in the AI technology hooks into the perineum, right? And it has this like mechanism that's up inside, and it's all on the astral. Like nobody would even know it was there unless it's there.
Right.
So what I do is I help people remove those technologies so they can bring that stuff back online, without the interference. So what happens is, I believe that during the process of circumcision or those types of things, there's an automatic compromise of the energy body. So then that allows for something to come and hook in childhood, up until 3 years old, and that's when the whole satanic ritual abuse and the pedophile rings start and all that stuff happens. So
and what happens to men, for our boys when they're circumcised, it immediately disconnects them from their mother. That act alone, it's like a kinetic, energetic thing. And so at that point, you are now at odds with your male child. I mean, as much as you try not to be,
they're at odds with the female. It happens with
they're at the female energy, exactly, and it stays that way. And it starts with the circumcision.
And that's so that they can control the masses, right?
Right, exactly. And the way the energy thing goes, guys, just thinking about it from the Kundalini or the chakra, the male female, in terms of being in balance in the root chakra. When we engage in sexual intercourse, the male is the protruder, so it is giving. So when it moves into the vagina, it's giving. That's the first point of connection, and the man says, "I love you," especially when the foreskin is there, when it's uncircumcised. I'm talking about. So it's an "I love you" type of thing. that seed generally, or not every time, but you know, the concept of giving gives life into the womb. Then it moves from that shot so that the woman receives the love. She then gives the love back in the birthing process, but we move up into the navel or the stomach. She gives back to man. That's why men love food. That's why men, you fix them a good food, they're loving you. That's our way of giving that love that started in the beginning back. This is moving through the chakras. Then when we move back into the heart chakra, then the man is giving back through the heart chakra. We receive it. That's why we love, you know, we receive it. Then it moves up into the throat chakra, back out when we say, I love you, I support you, I'm helping you, I'm backing you, my man, to go discover the world. He needs that communication. And then that he gives back by bringing it back into the third eye, where we're connecting. So this is an exchange, and that's where you get the spiraling, the snake, the kundalini, the thing that's coming up. It's this back and forth of masculine, feminine energy that dominate, that are connected to our chakras. This is really how this whole thing is working, and that's why
a really good example of that visually is Alex Gray. Alex Gray has some incredible artwork which shows the energy lines and how they operate and how they move back and forth between the man and the woman. There's some profound artwork, like visionary art. He's like the grandfather of visionary art, that guy.
I'll make sure I put that link in as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Alex Gray, Chapel of Sacred Mirrors is there.
Yeah.
COSM.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, they're in New York. Yeah. And he's done a lot. You know, he was around during the beatnik 60s, Alan Watts, you know, all those guys. So he's connected to all those guys, and he made it, you know, he lived through it all. And, you know, he talks about plant medicines, but he shows, because he's done so much plant medicine, he's seen into the realms, and he paints it, and it's incredible. It's incredible the way.
That's something to definitely look at, guys. So let's see, we probably should get ready to wrap things up. Do you want to tell us a little bit about where you're going from here, what's happening with the global pilgrimage, or just, you know, bring us up on that a bit, talk a little bit about earth energies.
Well, we're stepping into a period of really massive movement in cosmic energies. So what I've needed to do is ground until such point as the work gets done, because I basically can't go back to my other life. I have my life wherever I go, but, you know, I personally don't have any desire to come back to the United States, to be quite honest. But
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I mean, I have a kid and a dog, and, you know, I got people, and so we'll see what happens.
Right.
But there is, you know, the exit strategy that people are going to have to come up with to become expats. If they choose to not stay in the United States, but at least you have some time. We were talking about, we have some time for that.
Have some time now.
Yeah. So right now, I can't really speak to what I'm going to be doing, but the work is in process, and the more I'm here, the more layers are revealed to me. And if I speak to it before it happens, I really can't talk about the future. We don't know what the future holds, but what I do know is that my participation in every aspect of multidimensional awareness in this world that we've been living in has had an impact. And my participation has had an impact. And so I continue along that line. I continue along that vein of really making a point of being fully present and available for what spirit guides and directs me to do in any given moment. I did on the 1st of November, during that window of the Samhain window was profound.
Yeah, it was intense. Yeah,
it was intense for a lot of people. It was really super intense. It was intense for me too, but it wasn't as intense, I think, for me as it was for others, because I've gotten to this place, which is beautiful, where I'm in the 5th dimensional reality so much so that I don't actually experience the same level of hard hits, you know, that other people do now. And that's good, because then I'm available to support others, which is really important right now. through sessions and whatever needs to happen. So, but on the 1st, I decided to do a Standing Rock ceremony.
Okay.
I don't know if I sent that to you. Did I send that to you?
I don't think I got that. If you did, with me traveling in Europe myself,
okay,
I lost a lot of stuff.
I will
send
give
it
you.
again.
I will send you the link to
okay,
that.
Perfect.
It's actually on my YouTube channel.
Oh, okay. I'll go look there.
If you type in Saralise on YouTube, you'll find my channel and you subscribe or whatever.
Okay.
But I have most of my videos. I don't have the private so that people can watch them. The people that
supported your mission and stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Whatever.
They're unlisted and because the energies that are coming through that I'm transmitting are so potent and powerful that somebody has to be ready and available for those. I can't just put it out on a public.
No.
It's just not designed that way.
Yeah.
But the Standing Rock ceremony, if you guys want to watch that, it's a really potent energy and it would be really powerful to just tune in with that, to be able to sort of hold space for that right now. Because it is at a crucial point, and I wanted to speak to that super quick and say that there's a bank in Norway who has considered removing their funding for the project, which is about $3.5 billion, by the way. And
Good.
350 million of it came from this particular bank in Norway, and they have reconsidered their funding the project because the native peoples, the first peoples of the nation, are being affected in a derogatory way. And until they come around and prove that they're not going to damage
that's
life,
huge. That's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. So I mean, that's a big step in the right direction that we can see is happening. And so that's because of all the prayers that people have been doing for Standing Rock. I mean, there's so many prayers going out, and it's really important that we bring Standing Rock to people's attention. And because this is another way that they are distracting us through the election.
Yep, you're right.
Because Standing Rock it's sort of like a beacon of our time. It shows the level of solidarity that's happening in the world. A million people checked in on Facebook at Standing Rock to divert the cops following people on Facebook, trying to figure out who was there and who was there, in the actual physical. Exactly. So that to me was such a huge representation of solidarity in terms of us as one being, really showing up and showing what's possible. So we have to stay in that vein of the solidarity speak in terms of where we're moving forward in this world and what we're doing and how we're going to design our future. Design it. We have the opportunity. We are at the crux of the peak of the pillar of the, we are right at that peak, right? And
we're right there. It's happening.
Action,
yes.
We can change the climate. We can bring things back. The greenhouse gases can drop. There's so many things we can do. The last thing I want to mention quickly, if you haven't seen Before the Flood, it's on YouTube. It's Leonardo DiCaprio's new movie. It's a documentary about climate change, and it's 20 years later, right? And here he is saying, hey guys, it's getting worse.
Yep.
We're fucked. And we can take action. And I care enough to fucking do this film and say that. So he funded it. I think he funded it himself and went out and did this 2-year journey, and he went to Antarctica. He went everywhere. And he went to the Arctic, the North, and he literally showed the freaking glacial rivers that were just bashing down. So it's a really cool movie, and it really does bring it home to what us as beings have done over the last 20 years. I mean, it's incredible to watch.
It is
but
incredible.
I think it's important for us to really be fully present and available for what's going on in the world right now, and not just be in our own little lives, that we actually really need to pay attention right now to the world and what's happening, and really make an effort to gear ourselves towards what our actions are going to be and how we're going to support the movement forward in designing our future.
Absolutely. Do you want to share some of the services that you've been with your clients? Not in detail,
Sure.
but so that if people who may want to hire your services, I mean, you've been sort of.
I did have some people contact me, but then they never wrote back. So I don't know what happened.
Okay, well, you have some people that you are working with now too. So
yeah, I work with a lot of people. So I do a lot of really cool things that I love to be of service. The ways that I love to be of service are this. One, I do Akashic record readings. Where you can ask any question you want, and there's a very specific format, and we do half an hour to an hour readings, and that, you know, different prices, but depending on how many questions you have, and I send you a form and it has questions, sample questions to inspire you. So that's one way that you can work with me, and that can lead to even more work with the energy healing and things like that. Mm-hmm. I also do what's called the Magi Priestess Realignment Session Series, which basically brings you from where you are now into, you know, full embodiment and full power. That's a much stronger commitment. Mm-hmm. And that level of you have to be so committed to that process. If you're serious about working on your soul and everything that goes along with it, then that's for you. And so I'm very selective as to who I work with on that level, because it takes such a strong commitment. And because we're doing it in rapid fire succession, like every 3 to 5 days, boom, 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 boom. And so it's like, so that the dark intelligence cannot come in and like actually grip back on. So it's like, you get to see how infiltrated you have been. Right. And you get to take your power back from it, and you get to go into the core traumas, and you get to go into, you know, other incarnations and like whatever galactic. I mean, we look at everything and we figure out what's going on, and we work on it. We take our power back in those areas, and we reintegrate new systems and new programmings that you decide on yourself. Right. Because I'm there to hold space for you to facilitate your own healing. But I mean, I'm obviously guiding. Right. But I'm not doing the work for you. I'm not, you know, that's not what this is about. This is about you doing the work and me holding space and being a guide and being able to help hold, you know, a strong container, because it takes a very strong container to do this work. Because there are levels of energies that do not want to lose their energy harvesting mechanism and the feeding tube that they have. Yeah,
they want to stay in control themselves.
Exactly.
So we'll that sounds great. We'll put your links in the notes for the show for anyone who would like to work with Saralise and reach out. And you've seen a number of her videos now on this channel. You got a sense of her energy. So you know, you're definitely invited to connect and you know, see whether or not some of those services are a fit. So I want to know that.
I mean, I'll have a conversation with you. You know, we can talk through email and kind of get a gist of what's going on, and I'll feel into it intuitively, and you can feel if it's the right fit for you. You know, I'm okay either way. Like, I think it's really important that when you work on that level, that you're working and you know that this is meant for you. Otherwise, it's
a waste. Yeah,
it's a total waste on both parts both people's energies. So it's important for it to be the right fit, and I wouldn't want to work with somebody if it wasn't the right fit for them. So I mean, I think it's everyone has a personal everyone has somebody that is right for them in terms of, you know, support.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
And so, you know, that may not be me, or that may be me. You know, it just depends, really.
Right.
I can't determine that, you know?
No, it's all a process. We're all finding our energy, our frequencies, and it really goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. You know, just find what you're resonating, where your frequencies are, and just continue to be mindful, and you'll just know it intuitively. You don't need someone to tell you that. Just look at what you like, what you resonate to, what you like about nature, and those are normally where you'll find your frequencies. You know, and then just kind of keep on operating. Either go with your heart space, go with your intuition, go with your gut feeling, all those things that people say, oh, how do you know? Yeah, well, that's what you should be focusing on. Don't let someone else tell you what to do or what to think. Go back to those spaces. Well, we need to go ahead and close the show out now. Again, thanks a lot, Saralise, for being here. We'll check back in with you in like a couple of weeks. We'll check back and see what's going on.
There's
and
some
I'm
big
sure
stuff
we'll have
coming up. towards the end of the year. So
Okay, well, we'll get back with you,
but
and
we'll definitely do a monthly, or a couple weeks.
yeah, we'll do
Because there's
another
so
segment.
much going on.
There's so much going on in the world. Yeah,
yeah.
it's like so much to talk. We could talk for another hour if it wasn't for the fact that videos are just too long when they get kind of past an hour. It's just too much. But
yeah.
all right, well, kisses and love and hugs and everything there, and thank you again. And I just thank all of my subscribers, people tuning into the channel. Thank you so much for being a part of Circle Healing Network. I really welcome your comments. A lot of you guys are just spot on. I can't thank you enough for us doing this, being on this journey together. And if you hung to the end of this video, we just thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it means you guys are real. You're our road dogs. You're warriors.
Yeah, for real.
But thanks again. Love to you all. Peace out. Thanks again. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Saralise.